Welcome, everyone. Today, we're diving into the fascinating world of Japan, a country that beautifully blends tradition and modernity. From its stunning landscapes to its rich cultural heritage, Japan offers an experience like no other. Imagine standing beneath the iconic cherry blossoms in spring, their delicate petals dancing in the breeze. This breathtaking sight is just one of the many natural wonders Japan has to offer. The country is home to majestic mountains, serene temples, and vibrant cities that pulse with life. Each region has its own unique charm, whether it's the bustling streets of Tokyo or the tranquil beauty of Kyoto's ancient shrines. But Japan is more than just picturesque views. It's a land steeped in history and tradition. The art of tea ceremonies, the elegance of kimono wearing, and the intricate craftsmanship of pottery and calligraphy all reflect a deep respect for culture and heritage. These traditions are not just preserved, they are celebrated and shared with the world, inviting everyone to experience the essence of Japan. Let's not forget the culinary delights. Japanese cuisine is a feast for the senses. From the umami-rich flavors of sushi and ramen to the delicate presentation of kaiseki dining, each dish tells a story, showcasing the country's dedication to quality and artistry in food preparation. And for those with a sweet tooth, the variety of traditional sweets, or wagashi, is simply irresistible. As we explore Japan, we also discover its commitment to innovation and technology. The country is at the forefront of advancements, from robotics to sustainable practices, all while maintaining a strong connection to its roots. This harmonious balance is what makes Japan truly unique. So, whether you're planning a visit or simply curious about this incredible country, Japan has something for everyone. It's a place where ancient traditions meet cutting-edge innovation, where every corner holds a new adventure waiting to unfold. Thank you for joining me on this journey through Japan. If you enjoyed this exploration, don't forget to follow and subscribe for more captivating content. Until next time, keep your curiosity alive and embrace the beauty of the world around you. Japan is an island country in East Asia, located in the Pacific Ocean off the northeast coast of the Asian mainland. It is bordered to the west by the Sea of Japan and extends from the Sea of Okhotsk in the north to the East China Sea in the south. The Japanese archipelago consists of 4 major islands alongside 14,121 smaller islands, covering 377,975 square kilometers, 145,937 square miles, divided into 47 administrative prefectures and 8 traditional regions. About 75% of the country's terrain is mountainous and heavily forested, concentrating its agriculture and highly urbanized population along its eastern coastal plains. With a population of over 123 million as of 2025, it is the 11th most populous country. The country's capital and largest city is Tokyo. The first known habitation of the archipelago dates to the Upper Paleolithic, with the beginning of the Japanese Paleolithic dating to c. 36,000 BC. Between the 4th and 6th centuries, its kingdoms were united under an emperor in Nara and later Heian-kai. From the 12th century, actual power was held by military dictators known as shogun and feudal lords called daimyo, enforced by warrior nobility named samurai. After rule by the Kamakura and Ashikaga shogunates and a century of warring states, Japan was unified in 1600 by the Tokugawa shogunate, which implemented an isolationist foreign policy. In 1853, an American fleet forced Japan to open trade to the West, which led to the end of the shogunate and the restoration of imperial power in 1868. In the Meiji period, Japan pursued rapid industrialization and modernization, as well as militarism and overseas colonization. The country invaded China in 1937 and attacked the United States and European colonial powers in 1941, thus entering World War II as an Axis power. After being defeated in the Pacific War and suffering the U.S. atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan surrendered in 1945 and came under Allied occupation. Afterwards, the country underwent rapid economic growth and became one of the 5 earliest major non-NATO allies of the U.S. Since the collapse of the Japanese asset price bubble in the early 1990s, it has experienced a prolonged period of economic stagnation referred to as the Lost Decades. Japan is a constitutional monarchy with a bicameral legislature known as the National Diet, widely considered a great power and the only Asian member of the G7. It maintains one of the world's strongest militaries, but has constitutionally renounced its right to declare war. A developed country with one of the world's largest economies by nominal GDP, Japan is a global leader in the automotive and robotics industries, in addition to making significant contributions to science and technology. It is one of the highest life expectancies, but is undergoing a severe population decline and has the highest proportion of elderly citizens of any country in the world. The culture of Japan is globally well known, especially its popular culture, which includes art, cuisine, films, music, animation, comics, and video games. The name for Japan in Japanese is written using the kanji and is pronounced Nihon or Nippon. 11. Before was adopted in the early 8th century, the country was known in China as Wa, changed in Japan around 757 to An in Japan by the endonym Yamato. 12. Nippon, the original Sino-Japanese reading of the characters, is favored for official uses, including on Japanese banknotes and postage stamps. 11. Nihon is typically used in everyday speech and reflects shifts in Japanese phonology during the Edo period. 12. The characters mean sun origin. 11. Which is the source of the popular Western epithet, land of the rising sun. 13. The name Japan is based on Min or Wu Chinese pronunciations of An was int, reduced to European languages through early trade. 14. In the 13th century, Marco Polo recorded the early Mandarin Chinese pronunciation of the characters as Chipangu. 15. The old Malay name for Japan, Japang or Japan, was borrowed from a southern coastal Chinese dialect and encountered by Portuguese traders in Southeast Asia, who brought the word to Europe in the early 16th century. 16. The first version of the name in English appears in a book published in 1577, which spelled the name as Japan in a translation of a 1565 Portuguese letter. 17. 14. History. Main article. History of Japan for a chronological guide. See Timeline of Japanese history. Prehistoric to classical history. Legendary Emperor Jimmu. Jimmu Tenno. Modern humans arrived in Japan around 38,000 years ago, approximately 36,000 BC, marking the beginning of the Japanese Paleolithic. 18. Around 14,500 BC, the start of the Jōmon period. A Mesolithic to Neolithic semi-sedentary hunter-gatherer culture characterized by pit-dwelling and rudimentary agriculture emerged. 19 clay vessels from the period are among the oldest surviving examples of pottery. 20. The Japonic-speaking Yayoi people later entered the archipelago from the Korean Peninsula. 2120 to 23 intermingling with the Jōmon people. 23. The Yayoi period saw the introduction of innovative practices including wet rice farming. 24. A new style of pottery. 25. And metallurgy from China and Korea. 26. According to legend, Emperor Jimmu, descendant of Amaterasu, founded a kingdom in central Japan in 660 BC, beginning a continuous imperial line. 27. Japan first appears in written history in the Chinese Book of Han, completed in 111 AD, where it is described as having 100 small kingdoms. A century later, the Book of Wei records that the kingdom of Yamatai, which may refer to Yamato, unified most of these kingdoms. 2827. Buddhism was introduced to Japan from Baekje, a Korean kingdom, in 552, but the development of Japanese Buddhism was primarily influenced by China. 29. Despite early resistance, Buddhism was promoted by the ruling class, including figures like Prince Shotoku, and gained widespread acceptance beginning in the Asuka period 592 to 710. 30 and 645. The government led by Prince Nakanoe and Fujiwara no Kamatari devised and implemented the far-reaching Taika reforms. The reform began with land reform based on Confucian ideas and philosophies from China. 31. It nationalized all land in Japan to be distributed equally among cultivators and ordered the compilation of a household registry as the basis for a new system of taxation. 32. The true aim of the reforms was to bring about greater centralization and to enhance the power of the imperial court, which was also based on the governmental structure of China. Envoys and students were dispatched to China to learn about Chinese writing, politics, art, and religion. 31. The Jinshin War of 672, a bloody conflict between Prince Kama and his nephew Prince Tomo, became a major catalyst for further administrative reforms. 33. These reforms culminated with the promulgation of the Taika Code, which consolidated existing statutes and established the structure of the central and subordinate local governments. 32. These legal reforms created the Ritsuryo state, a system of Chinese-style centralized government that remained in place for half a millennium. 33. The Nara period, 710 to 780, marked the emergence of a Japanese state centered on the imperial court in Haijuki, modern Nara. The period is characterized by the appearance of a nascent literary culture with the completion of the Kojiki 712 and Nihon Shoki 720, as well as the development of Buddhist-inspired artwork and architecture. 30 for 35. A smallpox epidemic in 735 to 737 is believed to have killed as much as one-third of Japan's population. 35-36. In 784, Emperor Kanmu moved the capital, settling on Heian-kai, modern-day Kyoto, in 794. 35. This marked the beginning of the Heian period, 79 for 1185, during which a distinctly indigenous Japanese culture emerged. Murasaki Shikibu's The Tale of Genji and the lyrics of Japan's national anthem, Kimigeo, were written during this time. 37. Feudal era Japanese samurai boarding a Mongol vessel during the Mongol invasions of Japan, depicted in the Murko Shirai Ikotoba, 1293. Three unifiers of Japan. Left to right, Oda Nobunaga, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, and Tokugawa Ieyasu. Japan's feudal era was characterized by the emergence and dominance of a ruling class of warriors, the samurai. 38. In 1185, following the defeat of the Taira clan by the Minamoto clan in the Genpei War, Samurai Minamoto no Yoritomo established a military government at Kamakura. 39. After Yoritomo's death, the Hurrier clan came to power as regents for the shogun. 35. The Zen school of Buddhism was introduced from China in the Kamakura period 1185 to 1333 and became popular among the samurai class. 40. The Kamakura shogunate repelled Mongol invasions in 1274 and 1281, but was eventually overthrown by Emperor Go-Daigo. 35. Go-Daigo was defeated by Ashikaga Takaji in 1336, beginning the Muromachi period 1336 to 1573. 41. The succeeding Ashikaga shogunate failed to control the feudal warlords daimyo, and a civil war began in 1467, opening the century-long Sengoku period warring states. 42. During the 16th century, Portuguese traders and Jesuit missionaries reached Japan for the first time, initiating direct commercial and cultural exchange between Japan and the West. See Nanban trade and Nanban art. 3543. Oda Nobunaga used European technology and firearms to conquer many other daimyo. 40. For his consolidation of power began what was known as the Azuchi Momoyama period. 45. After the death of Nobunaga in 1582, his successor, Toyotomi Hideyoshi, unified the nation in the early 1590s and launched unsuccessful invasions of Korea in 1592 and 1597. 35. Tokugawa Ieyasu served as regent for Hideyoshi's son Toyotomi Hideori within the Council of Five Elders and used his position to gain political and military support. 46. When open war broke out, Ieyasu defeated rival clans in the Battle of Sekigahara in 1600. He was appointed shogun by Emperor Go-Yazei in 1603 and established the Tokugawa shogunate at Edo, modern Tokyo. 47. The shogunate enacted measures including Buke Shohato as a code of conduct to control the autonomous daimyo. 48. And in 1639 the isolationist Sakoku closed country policy that spanned the 2.5 centuries of tenuous political unity known as the Edo period 1603 to 1868. 47-49. Modern Japan's economic growth began in this period, resulting in roads, trade, and water transportation routes, as well as financial instruments such as futures contracts, banking, and insurance of the Osaka rice brokers. 50. The study of Western sciences, Rengaku, continued through contact with the Dutch enclave in Nagasaki. 47. The Edo period gave rise to Kokugaku National Studies, the study of Japan by the Japanese, the Empire of Japan, and its influence. 1940. To the United States Navy sent Commodore Matthew C. Perry to force the opening of Japan to the outside world. Arriving at Uraga with 4 black ships in July 1853, the Perry expedition resulted in the March 1850 Convention of Kanagawa. 47. Subsequent similar treaties with other Western countries brought economic and political crises. 47. The resignation of the shogun led to the Boshin War and the establishment of a centralized state nominally unified under the emperor, the Meiji Restoration. 52. Adopting Western political, judicial, and military institutions, the cabinet organized the Privy Council, introduced the Meiji Constitution, November 29, 1890, and assembled the Imperial Diet. 53. During the Meiji period 1868 to 1912, the Empire of Japan emerged as the most developed state in Asia and as an industrialized world power that pursued military conflict to expand its sphere of influence. 50. For 55-56, after victories in the First Sino-Japanese War 1894 to 1895 and the Russo-Japanese War 1904-1905 Japan gained control of Taiwan, Korea, and the southern half of Sakhalin, 57-53, and annexed Korea in 1910. The Japanese population doubled from 35 million in 1873 to 70 million by 1935, with a significant shift to urbanization. 59-60, the early 20th century saw a period of Taisho democracy 1912 to 1926, overshadowed by increasing expansionism and militarization. 61-62, World War I allowed Japan, which joined the side of the victorious Allies, to capture German possessions in the Pacific and China in 1920. 62. The 1920s saw a political shift towards statism, a period of lawlessness following the 1923 Great Tokyo Earthquake, the passing of laws against political dissent, and a series of attempted coups. 60-63-60 for this process accelerated in the 1930s, spawning several radical nationalist groups that shared a hostility to liberal democracy and a dedication to expansion in Asia. 65. In 1931, Japan invaded China and occupied Manchuria, which led to the establishment of puppet state of Manchukuo in 1932. Following international condemnation of the occupation, it resigned from the League of Nations in 1933. 66. In 1936, Japan signed the Anti-Comintern Pact with Nazi Germany. The 1940 Tripartite Pact made it one of the Axis powers. 60. On September 2, 1945, Japan surrendered to the Allies. The Empire of Japan invaded other parts of China in 1937, precipitating the Second Sino-Japanese War 1937 to 1945. 67. In 1940, the empire invaded French Indochina, after which the United States placed an oil embargo on Japan. 60-68. On December 7 to 8, 1941, Japanese forces carried out surprise attacks on Pearl Harbor, as well as on British forces in Malaya, Singapore, and Hong Kong, among others, beginning World War II in the Pacific. 69. Throughout areas occupied by Japan during the war, numerous abuses were committed against local inhabitants, with many forced into sexual slavery. 70. After Allied victories during the next 4 years, which culminated in the Soviet invasion of Manchuria and the atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, Japan agreed to an unconditional surrender. 71. The war cost Japan millions of lives and its colonies, including de jure parts of Japan, such as Korea, Taiwan, Karafuto, and the Kurils. 60. The Allies, led by the United States, repatriated millions of Japanese settlers from their former colonies and military camps throughout Asia, largely eliminating the Empire of Japan and its influence over the territories it conquered. 72-73. The Allies convened the International Military Tribunal for the Far East to prosecute Japanese leaders, except the Emperor. 74 for Japanese war crimes. 73. In 1947, Japan adopted a new constitution emphasizing liberal democratic practices. 73. The Allied occupation ended with the Treaty of San Francisco in 1952. 75. And Japan was granted membership in the United Nations in 1956. 73. A period of record growth propelled Japan to become the world's second largest economy at that time. 73. This ended in the mid-1990s after the popping of an asset price bubble, beginning the lost decade characterized by economic stagnation and low inflation. 76. In 2011, Japan suffered one of the largest earthquakes in its recorded history, the Tohoku earthquake triggering the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster. 77. On May 1, 2019, after the historic abdication of Emperor Akihito, his son Naruhito became emperor, beginning the Reiwa era. 2019. 78. Japan comprises 14,125 islands extending along the Pacific coast of Asia. 79. It stretches over 3,000 kilometers, 1,900 miles, northeast-southwest from the Sea of Okhotsk to the East China Sea 8081. The country's 5 main islands, from north to south, are Hokkaido, Honshu, Shikoku, Kyushu, and Okinawa. 82. The Ryukyu Islands, which include Okinawa, are a chain to the south of Kyushu. The Namp Islands are south and east of the main islands of Japan. Together they are often known as the Japanese Archipelago. 83. As of 2019, Japan's territory is 377,975.2 square kilometers, 145,937.06 square miles. Japan has the 6th longest coastline in the world at 29,751 kilometers, 18,400. Because of its far-flung outlying islands, Japan's exclusive economic zone is the 8th largest in the world, covering 4,470,000 square kilometers, 1,730,000 square miles. 80 for 85, the Japanese archipelago is 67% forests and 14% agricultural. 86. The primarily rugged and mountainous terrain is restricted for habitation. 87. Thus the habitable zones, mainly in the coastal areas, have very high population densities. Japan is the 40th most densely populated country even without considering that local concentration. 88-89, Honshu has the highest population density at 450 persons per square kilometer, 1,200 square mi, as of 2010, while Hokkaido has the lowest density of 60 for 0.5 persons square kilometer as of 2016. 90 as of 2014. Approximately 0.5% of Japan's total area is reclaimed land. Umateki. 91. Lake Biwa is an ancient lake and the country's largest freshwater lake. 90. To Japan is substantially prone to earthquakes, tsunami, and volcanic eruptions because of its location along the Pacific Ring of Fire. It has the 17th highest natural disaster risk as measured in the 2016 World Risk Index. 94. Japan has 111 active volcanoes. 95. Destructive earthquakes, often resulting in tsunami, occur several times each century. 96. The 1923 Tokyo earthquake killed over 140,000 people. 97. More recent major quakes are the 1995 Great Hanshin earthquake and the 2011 Tohoku earthquake, which triggered a large tsunami. 77. The climate of Japan is predominantly temperate, but varies greatly from north to south. The northernmost region, Hokkaido, has a humid continental climate with long, cold winters and very warm to cool summers. Precipitation is not heavy, but the islands usually develop deep snowbanks in the winter. 98. In the Sea of Japan region, on Honshu's west coast, northwest winter winds bring heavy snowfall during winter. In the summer, the region sometimes experiences extremely hot temperatures because of the foam. 99. The Central Highland has a typical inland humid continental climate, with large temperature differences between summer and winter. The mountains of the Chegoku and Shikoku region shelter the Seto Inland Sea from seasonal winds, bringing mild weather year-round. 98. The Pacific Coast features a humid subtropical climate that experiences milder winters with occasional snowfall and hot, humid summers because of the southeast seasonal wind. The Ryukyu and Namp Islands have a subtropical climate, with warm winters and hot summers. Precipitation is very heavy, especially during the rainy season. 98. The main rainy season begins in early May in Okinawa, and the rain front gradually moves north. In late summer and early autumn, typhoons often bring heavy rain. 100. According to the Environment Ministry, heavy rainfall and increasing temperatures have caused problems in the agricultural industry and elsewhere. 101. The highest temperature ever measured in Japan, 41.8 C, 107.2 degrees Fahrenheit, was recorded on August 5, 2025. 102. Japan has 9 forest ecoregions, which reflect the climate and geography of the islands. They range from subtropical moist broadleaf forests in the Ryukyu and Bonin Islands, to temperate broadleaf and mixed forests in the mild climate regions of the main islands. to temperate coniferous forests in the cold, winter portions of the northern islands. 103. Japan has over 90,000 species of wildlife as of 2019. 104, including the brown bear, the Japanese macaque, the Japanese raccoon dog, the small Japanese field mouse, and the Japanese giant salamander. There are 53 ramps or wetland sites in Japan. 106. 5 sites have been inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List for their outstanding natural value. 107. In the period of rapid economic growth after World War II, environmental policies were downplayed by the government and industrial corporations. As a result, environmental pollution was widespread in the 1950s and 1960s. Responding to rising concerns, the government introduced environmental protection laws in 1970. 108. The oil crisis in 1973 also encouraged the efficient use of energy because of Japan's lack of natural resources. 109. Japan ranks 20th in the 2018 Environmental Performance Index, which measures a country's commitment to environmental sustainability. 110. Japan is the world's 5th largest emitter of carbon dioxide. 101. As the host and signatory of the 1997 Kyoto Protocol, Japan is under treaty obligation to reduce its carbon dioxide emissions and to take other steps to curb climate change. 111. In 2020, the government of Japan announced a target of carbon neutrality by 2050. 112. Environmental issues include urban air pollution, NOx, suspended particulate matter, and toxics, waste management, water eutrophication, nature conservation, climate change, chemical management, and international cooperation for conservation. 113. Japan is a unitary state and constitutional monarchy in which the power of the Emperor Tennu is limited to a ceremonial role. 114. Executive power is instead wielded by the Prime Minister of Japan and his cabinet, whose sovereignty is vested in the Japanese people. 115. Naruhito is the Emperor of Japan, having succeeded his father Akihito upon his accession to the Chrysanthemum throne in 2019. 114. Japan's legislative organ is the National Diet, a bicameral parliament. 114. It consists of a lower house of representatives with 465 seats, elected by popular vote every 4 years or when dissolved, and an upper house of councillors with 248 seats, whose popularly elected members serve 6-year terms. 116. There is universal suffrage for adults over 18 years of age. 117. With a secret ballot for all elected offices. 115. The Prime Minister, as the head of government, has the power to appoint and dismiss ministers of state, and is appointed by the Emperor after being designated from among the members of the Diet. 116. Shigeru Ishiba is Japan's Prime Minister. He took office after winning the 2024 Liberal Democratic Party leadership election. 118. The broadly conservative Liberal Democratic Party has been the dominant party in the country since the 1950s, often called the 1955 system. 119. Historically influenced by Chinese law. The Japanese legal system developed independently during the Edo period through texts such as Kujikata Osada Megaki. 120. Since the late 19th century, the judicial system has been largely based on the civil law of Europe, notably Germany. In 1896, Japan established a civil code based on the German Bürgerliches Gesetzbuch, which remains in effect with post-World War II modifications. 121. The Constitution of Japan, adopted in 1947, is the oldest unamended constitution in the world. 122. Statutory law originates in the legislature, and the Constitution requires that the Emperor promulgate legislation passed by the Diet without giving him the power to oppose legislation. The main body of Japanese statutory law is called the Six Codes. 120. Japan's court system is divided into 4 basic tiers: the Supreme Court, and 3 levels of lower courts. 123. A member state of the United Nations since 1956, Japan is one of the G for countries seeking reform of the Security Council. 125. Japan is a member of the G7, APEC, and ASEAN Plus 3, and is a participant in the East Asia Summit. 126. It is the world's 5th largest donor of official development assistance, donating $9.2 billion United States dollars in 2014. 127. In 2024, Japan had the 4th largest diplomatic network in the world. 128. Japan is widely considered to be a great power due to its economic power and political, cultural, and military influence. 129-130. Japan has close economic and military relations with the United States, with which it maintains a security alliance. 131. The United States is a major market for Japanese exports and a major source of Japanese imports, and is committed to defending the country, with military bases in Japan. 131. In 2016, Japan announced the Free and Open Indo-Pacific Vision, which frames its regional policies. 132-133. Japan is also a member of the Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, the Quad, a multilateral security dialogue reformed in 2017 aiming to limit Chinese influence in the Indo-Pacific region, along with the United States, Australia, and India. 130-135. Japan is engaged in several territorial disputes with its neighbors. It contests Russia's control of the southern Kuril Islands, which were occupied by the Soviet Union in 1945. 136. South Korea's control of the Liancourt Rocks is acknowledged, but not accepted as they are claimed by Japan. 137. Japan has strained relations with China and Taiwan over the Senkaku Islands and the status of Okinatorishima. 138. Japan is the 3rd highest-ranked Asian country in the 2020 for Global Peace Index. 139. It spent 1.4% of its total GDP on its defense budget and maintained the 10th largest military budget in the world in 2024. 140. The country's military, the Japan Self-Defense Forces (SJDF), is restricted by Article 9 of the Japanese Constitution, which renounces Japan's right to declare war or use military force in international disputes. 141. The military is governed by the Ministry of Defense and primarily consists of the Japan Ground Self-Defense Force, the Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force, and the Japan Air Self-Defense Force. The deployment of troops to Iraq and Afghanistan marked the first overseas use of Japan's military since World War II. 142. The government of Japan has been making changes to its security policy, which include the establishment of the National Security Council, the adoption of the National Security Strategy, and the development of the National Defense Program Guidelines. 143. In May 2014, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe said Japan wanted to shed the passiveness it has maintained since the end of World War II and take more responsibility for regional security. 144. In December 2022, Prime Minister Fumio Kishida further confirmed this trend, instructing the government to increase spending by 65% until 2027. 145. Recent tensions, particularly with North Korea and China, have reignited the debate over the status of the JSDF and its relation to Japanese society. 146-147. Domestic security in Japan is provided mainly by the prefectural police departments under the oversight of the National Police Agency. 148. As the central coordinating body for the prefectural police departments, the National Police Agency is administered by the National Public Safety Commission. 149. The Special Assault Team comprises national-level counterterrorism tactical units that cooperate with territorial-level anti-firearms squads and counter-NBC terrorism squads. 150. The Japan Coast Guard guards territorial waters surrounding Japan and uses surveillance and control countermeasures against smuggling, marine environmental crime, poaching, piracy, spy ships, unauthorized foreign fishing vessels, and illegal immigration. 151 The firearm and sword possession control law strictly regulates the civilian ownership of guns, swords, and other weaponry. 152. 153. According to the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, among the member states of the UN that report statistics as of 2018, the incidence rates of violent crimes such as murder, abduction, sexual violence, and robbery are very low in Japan. 150 for 155, 156, 157 Human Rights Mine article. Human rights in Japan. Japanese society traditionally places a strong emphasis on collective harmony and conformity, which has led to the suppression of individual rights. 158 Japan's constitution prohibits racial and religious discrimination. 159. 160, and the country is a signatory to numerous international human rights treaties. 161. However, it lacks any laws against discrimination based on race, ethnicity, religion, sexual orientation, or gender identity, and does not have a national human rights institution. 160. Japan has faced criticism for its gender inequality. 163. Not allowing same-sex marriages. 160 for use of racial profiling by police. 165. 166, and allowing capital punishment. 167 Other human rights issues include the treatment of marginalized groups, such as ethnic minorities. 168 Refugees and asylum seekers. 169 Economy Main article. Economy of Japan. Skyscrapers in Nakanoshima, Osaka, a major financial center in Japan. Japan has the world's fifth largest economy by nominal GDP, after that of the United States, China, Germany, and India, and the fifth largest by PPP-adjusted GDP. 170. As of 2023, Japan's labor force is the world's 10th largest, consisting of over 69.2 million workers. 84. As of 2024, Japan has a low unemployment rate of around 2.6%. 171. Its poverty rate is the second highest among the G7 countries, 172, and exceeds 15.7% of the population. 173. Japan has the highest ratio of public debt to GDP among advanced economies, 174, with a national debt estimated at 248% relative to GDP as of 2022. 175. The Japanese yen is the world's third largest reserve currency after the US dollar and the euro. 176. In 2022, Japan was the world's fifth largest exporter, 177, and fourth largest importer. 178. Its exports amounted to 21.9% of its total GDP in 2023. 179. In 2024, Japan's main export markets were China 22.2%, including Hong Kong, and the United States 20.6%. 180. Its main exports are motor vehicles, iron and steel products, semiconductors, and auto parts. 84. Japan's main import markets in 2024 were China 22.3%, the United States 10.5%, and Australia 7.1%. 180. Japan's main imports are machinery and equipment, fossil fuels, foodstuffs, chemicals, and raw materials. 180. The Japanese variant of capitalism has many distinct features. Keiretsu enterprises are influential, and lifetime employment and seniority-based career advancement are common in the Japanese work environment. 181. 182. Japan has a large cooperative sector, with 3 of the world's 10 largest cooperatives, including the largest consumer cooperative and the largest agricultural cooperative, as of 2018. It ranks highly for competitiveness and economic freedom. The country attracted 36.9 million international tourists in 2024, 184, and was ranked 11th in the world in 2019 for inbound tourism, 185. The 2020 for Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Report ranked Japan third in the world out of 117 countries, 186. Its international tourism receipts in 2019 amounted to $46.1 billion, 185. The Japanese agricultural sector accounts for about 1.2% of the country's total GDP as of 2018, 116. Only 11.2% of Japan's land is suitable for cultivation, 187. Because of this lack of arable land, a system of terraces is used to farm in small areas, 188. This results in one of the world's highest levels of crop yields per unit area, with an agricultural self-sufficiency rate of about 50% as of 2018, 189. Japan's small agricultural sector is highly subsidized and protected. 190. There has been a growing concern about farming as farmers are aging with a difficult time finding successors. 191. Japan ranked 7th in the world in tonnage of fish caught and captured 3,167,610 metric tons of fish in 2016, down from an annual average of 4 million tons over the previous decade. 192. Japan maintains one of the world's largest fishing fleets and accounts for nearly 15% of the global catch. 80. For prompting critiques that Japan's fishing is leading to depletion in fish stocks such as tuna. 193. Japan has sparked controversy by supporting commercial whaling. 194. Japan has a large industrial capacity and is home to some of the largest and most technologically advanced producers of motor vehicles, machine tools, steel and non-ferrous metals, ships, chemical substances, textiles, and processed foods. 84. Japan's industrial sector makes up approximately 27.5% of its GDP. 84. The country's manufacturing output is the fourth highest in the world as of 2023. 196. Japan is in the top 3 globally for both automobile production, 195, and export, 197, 198, and is home to Toyota, the world's largest automobile company by production. The Japanese shipbuilding industry faces increasing competition from its East Asian neighbors, South Korea and China. A 2020 government initiative identified this sector as a target for increasing exports. 199 once considered the strongest in the world. The Japanese consumer electronics industry is in a state of decline as regional competition arises. In neighboring East Asian countries, such as South Korea and China, 200. However, Japan's video games sector remains a major industry. In 2014, Japan's consumer video game market grossed $9.6 billion, with $5.8 billion coming from mobile gaming. 201. By 2015, Japan had become the world's fourth largest PC game market by revenue, behind China, the United States, and South Korea. 200. To Japan's service sector accounts for about 71.4% of its total economic output as of 2022. 203. Banking, retail, transportation, and telecommunications are all major industries, with companies such as Toyota, Mitsubishi UFJ, NTT, Aeon, SoftBank, Hitachi, and Itochu listed as among the largest in the world. 200. For 205. Relative to gross domestic product, Japan's research and development budget is the 6th or 7th highest in the world, 206, with 907. 400 researchers sharing a 22 trillion yen research and development budget as of 2023. 207. Japan has the second highest number of researchers in science and technology per capita in the world, with 14 per 1,000 employees. 208. The country has produced 22 Nobel laureates in either physics, chemistry, or medicine, 209, and 3 Fields medalists. 210. Japan leads the world in robotics production and use, supplying 38% of the world's 2020 for total, 211, down from 55% in 2017, 212. The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency is Japan's national space agency. It conducts space, planetary, and aviation research and leads development of rockets and satellites. 213. It is a participant in the International Space Station. The Japanese experiment module Kiba was added to the station during Space Shuttle assembly flights in 2008. 214. The space probe Akatsuki was launched in 2010 and achieved orbit around Venus in 2015. 215. Japan's plans in space exploration include building a moon base and landing astronauts by 2030. 216. In 2007, it launched Lunar Explorer Selene, Selenological, and Engineering Explorer from Tanegashima Space Center, the largest lunar mission since the Apollo program. Its purpose was to gather data on the moon's origin and evolution. The Explorer entered a lunar orbit on October 4, 2007, 217, 218, and was deliberately crashed into the moon on June 11, 2009. 219. Japan has invested heavily in transportation infrastructure since the 1990s. 220. The country has approximately 1,200,000 kilometers, 750,000 miles of roads, made up of 1,000,000 kilometers, 620, 0 miles of city, town, and village roads, 130,000 kilometers, 81,000 miles of prefectural roads, 54,736 kilometers, 34,011 miles of general national highways, and 7,641 kilometers, 4,748 miles of national expressways as of 2017. 221. Since privatization in 1987, 220 to dozens of Japanese railway companies compete in regional and local passenger transportation markets. Major companies include 7 junior enterprises, Kintetsu, Seibu Railway, and Keio Corporation. The high-speed Shinkansen bullet trains that connect major cities are known for their safety and punctuality. 223. There are 280 airports in Japan as of 2025. 84. The largest domestic airport, Haneda Airport in Tokyo, was Asia's second busiest airport in 2019. 224. The Kian and Hanshin Superport hubs are among the largest in the world, at 7.98 and 5.22 million TEU respectively as of 2017. 225. Energy-main article. Energy in Japan, part of the Seto Hill Wind Farms of 2019. 37.1% of energy in Japan is produced from petroleum, 25.1% from coal, 22.4% from natural gas, 3.5% from hydropower, and 0.8% from nuclear power. Nuclear power was down from 11.2% in 2010. 226. By May 2012, all of the country's nuclear power plants had been taken offline because of ongoing public opposition following the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear disaster in March 2011, though government officials continue to try to sway public opinion in favor of returning at least some to service. 227. The Sendai nuclear power plant restarted in 2015. 228. And since then several other nuclear power plants have been restarted. 229. Japan lacks significant domestic reserves and has a heavy dependence on imported energy. 230. The country has therefore aimed to diversify its sources and maintain high levels of energy efficiency. 231. Demographics main articles. Demographics of Japan, Japanese people, ethnic groups of Japan, list of metropolitan areas in Japan, and list of cities in Japan. View of Tokyo from the top of the Tokyo Skytree. The Greater Tokyo area is ranked as the most populous metropolitan area in the world. Japan has a population of almost 123 million, of whom nearly 120 million are Japanese nationals. 2020 for estimates. 232. A small population of foreign residents makes up the remainder, 233. Japan is the world's fastest aging country and has the highest proportion of elderly citizens of any country, comprising 1/3 of its total population, 234. This is the result of a post-World War II baby boom, which was followed by an increase in life expectancy and a decrease in birth rates. 235. Japan has a total fertility rate of 1.2, which is below the replacement rate of 2.1, and is among the world's lowest. 236. It has a median age of 48.4, the highest in the world. 237. As of 2025, over 29.3% of the population is over 65, or more than 1 in 4 out of the Japanese population. 232. As a growing number of younger Japanese are not marrying or remaining childless. 238. 239. Japan's population is expected to drop to around 88 million by 2065. 230. For the changes in demographic structure have created several social issues, particularly a decline in the workforce population and an increase in the cost of Social Security benefits. 238. The government of Japan projects that there will be almost 1 elderly person for each person of working age by 2060. 237. Immigration and birth incentives are sometimes suggested as a solution to provide younger workers to support the nation's aging population. 240. 241. On April 1, 2019, Japan's revised immigration law was enacted, protecting the rights of foreign workers to help reduce labor shortages in certain sectors. 242. In 2023, 92% of the Japanese population lived in cities. 243. The capital city, Tokyo, has a population of 13.9 million 2022. 244. It is part of the Greater Tokyo Area, the biggest metropolitan area in the world, with 37.4 million people 2024. 245. Japan is an ethnically and culturally homogeneous society. 246. With the Japanese people forming 97.4% of the country's population. 247. Minority ethnic groups in the country include the indigenous Ainu and Ryukyuan people. 248. Zainichi Koreans. 249. Chinese. 250. Filipinos. 251. Brazilians mostly of Japanese descent. 252. And Peruvians mostly of Japanese descent are also among Japan's small minority groups. 253. Barakuman make up a social minority group. 254. Language. Main article. Languages of Japan. Japanese language is Japan's de facto national language and the primary written and spoken language of most people in the country. 255. Japanese writing uses kanji Chinese characters and 2 sets of kana syllabaries based on cursive script and radicals used by kanji, as well as the Latin alphabet and Arabic numerals. 256. English has taken a major role in Japan as a business and international link language, and is a compulsory subject at the junior and senior high school levels. 257. Japanese Sign Language is the primary sign language used in Japan and has gained some official recognition, but its usage has been historically hindered by discriminatory policies and a lack of educational support. 255. Besides Japanese, the Ryukyuan languages Amami, Kunigami, Okinawan, Miyako, Yayama, Yanaguni, part of the Japonic language family, are spoken in the Ryukyu Islands chain. 258. Few children learn these languages. 259. But local governments have sought to increase awareness of the traditional languages. 260. The Ainu language, which is a language isolate, is moribund, with only a few native speakers remaining as of 2014. 261. Additionally, a number of other languages are taught and used by ethnic minorities, immigrant communities, and a growing number of foreign language students, such as Korean, including a distinct Zainichi Korean dialect. Chinese and Portuguese. 255 Religion Main article. Religion in Japan. The Torii of Itsukishima Shinto Shrine near Hiroshima, Japan's constitution guarantees full religious freedom. 260 to upper estimates suggest that 84 to 96% of the Japanese population subscribe to Shinto as its indigenous religion. 263. However, these estimates are based on people affiliated with a temple, rather than the number of true believers. Many Japanese people practice both Shinto and Buddhism. They can identify with both religions or describe themselves as non-religious or spiritual. 264. The level of participation in religious ceremonies as a cultural tradition remains high, especially during festivals and occasions such as the first shrine visit of the New Year. 265. Taoism and Confucianism from China have also influenced Japanese beliefs and customs. 31. In 2018, 1% 266 to 1.5% of the population were Christians. 267. Throughout the latest century, Western customs originally related to Christianity, including Western-style weddings, Valentine's Day, and Christmas, have become popular as secular customs among many Japanese. 268. About 90% of those practicing Islam in Japan are foreign-born migrants as of 2016. 269. In 2018, there were an estimated 105 mosques and 200,000 Muslims in Japan, 43,000 of which were Japanese nationals. Other minority religions include Hinduism, Judaism, and Baha'i faith, as well as the animist beliefs of the Ainu. 271. Education Line article. Education in Japan. Students celebrating after the announcement of the results of the entrance examinations to the University of Tokyo. Since the 1947 Fundamental Law of Education, compulsory education in Japan comprises elementary and junior high school, which together last for 9 years. 272. Almost all children continue their education at a 3-year senior high school. 273. The top-ranking university in Japan is the University of Tokyo. 274. Starting in April 2016, various schools began the academic year with elementary school and junior high school integrated into one 9-year compulsory schooling program. NEXT plans for this approach to be adopted nationwide. 275. The Program for International Student Assessment, PISA, coordinated by the OECD, ranks the knowledge and skills of Japanese 15-year-olds as the third best in the world. 276. Japan is one of the top-performing OECD countries in reading literacy, math, and sciences, with the average student scoring 520, and has one of the world's highest educated labor forces among OECD countries. 277, 276, 278. It spent 7.4% of its total GDP on education in 2021. 279. In 2023, Japan ranked third for the percentage of 25 to 64-year-olds that have attained tertiary education at 56%. 280. Approximately 65.5% of Japanese aged 25 to 34 have some form of tertiary education qualification, with bachelor's degrees being held by 34.8% of Japanese aged 25 to 64, the second most in the OECD after South Korea. 280. Japanese women are more highly educated than the men. 59% of women possess a university degree, compared to 52%. Health Mine articles. Health in Japan and Health Care System in Japan. University of Tokyo Hospital. Health care in Japan is provided by national and local governments. Payment for personal medical services is offered through a universal health insurance system that provides relative equality of access, with fees set by a government committee. People without insurance through employers can participate in a national health insurance program administered by local governments. 282. Since 1973, all elderly persons have been covered by government-sponsored insurance. 283. Japan spent 11.42% of its total GDP on healthcare in 2022, 284. In 2020, the overall life expectancy in Japan at birth was 85 years, 82 years for men and 88 years for women, 285, 286, the highest in the world. 287, while it had a very low infant mortality rate to per 1,000 live births. 288. Since 1981, the principal cause of death in Japan is cancer, which accounted for 27% of the total deaths in 2018, followed by cardiovascular diseases, which led to 15% of the deaths. 289. Japan has one of the world's highest suicide rates, which is considered a major social issue. 290. Another significant public health issue is smoking among Japanese men. 291. Japan has the lowest rate of heart disease in the OECD and the lowest level of dementia among developed countries. 292. Culture main article. Culture of Japan. See also, Japanese popular culture. Contemporary Japanese culture combines influences from Asia, Europe, and North America. 293. Traditional Japanese arts include crafts such as ceramics, textiles, lacquerware, swords, and dolls, performances of bunraku, kabuki, no, dance, and rakugo, and other practices, the tea ceremony, ikebana, martial arts, calligraphy, origami, onsen, geisha, and games. Japan has a developed system for the protection and promotion of both tangible and intangible cultural properties and national treasures. 290 for 22 sites have been inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List, 18 of which are of cultural significance. 295. Japan is considered a cultural superpower. 296, 297, 298, 299. Art and architecture. Eman article. Japanese art. Further information. Japanese architecture, Japanese garden, Japanese aesthetics, Japanese painting, and Japanese sculpture. Hakusi's 19th century ukiyo-e woodblock print The Great Wave off Kanagawa. Ritsurin Garden, one of the most famous strolling gardens in Japan. History of Japanese painting exhibits, synthesis and competition between native Japanese aesthetics and imported ideas. 300. The interaction between Japanese and European art has been significant. For example, ukiyo-e prints, which began to be exported in the 19th century in the movement known as Japonism, had a significant influence on the development of modern art in the West, most notably on post-impressionism. 300. Japanese architecture is a combination of local and other influences. It has traditionally been typified by wooden or mud plaster structures, elevated slightly off the ground, with tile or thatched roofs. 301. Traditional housing and many temple buildings see the use of tatami mats and sliding doors that break down the distinction between rooms and indoor and outdoor space. 302. Since the 19th century, Japan has incorporated much of Western modern architecture into construction and design. 303. It was not until after World War II that Japanese architects made an impression on the international scene, firstly with the work of architects like Kenza Tange and then with movements like metabolism. 300 for literature and philosophy articles, Japanese literature, Japanese poetry, and Japanese philosophy. 12th century illustrated hand scroll of the Tale of Genji, a national treasure. The earliest works of Japanese literature include the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki Chronicles and the Nanushu Poetry Anthology, all from the 8th century and written in Chinese characters. 305-306. In the early Heian period, the system of phonograms known as kana, hiragana, and katakana was developed. 307. The tale of the bamboo cutter is considered the oldest extant Japanese narrative. 308. An account of court life is given in the Pillow Book by Sei Shinagan, while the Tale of Genji by Murasaki Shikibu is often described as the world's first novel. 309-310. During the Edo period, the Chernin townspeople overtook the samurai aristocracy as producers and consumers of literature. The popularity of the works of Seikaku, for example, reveals this change in readership and authorship, while Bash revivified the poetic tradition of the Kikinshk with his haikai haiku and wrote the poetic travelogue, Oku no Hosamichi, 311. The Meiji era saw the decline of traditional literary forms as Japanese literature integrated Western influences. Natsume Saseki and Morigai were significant novelists in the early 20th century, followed by Ryan Nosuka Kodagawa, Junichiro Tanizaki, Kafur Nagai, and, more recently, Haruki Murakami and Kenji Nakagami. Japan has two Nobel Prize-winning authors, Yasunari Kawabata 1968 and Kenzaburki 1994. 312 Japanese philosophy has historically been a fusion of both foreign, particularly Chinese and Western, and uniquely Japanese elements. In its literary forms, Japanese philosophy began about 14 centuries ago. Confucian ideals remain evident in the Japanese concept of society and the self, and in the organization of the government and the structure of society. 313 Buddhism has profoundly impacted Japanese psychology, metaphysics, and aesthetics. 314 Performing arts main articles, Music of Japan and Theater of Japan. Japanese music is eclectic and diverse. Many instruments, such as the koto, were introduced in the 9th and 10th centuries. The popular folk music, with the guitar-like shamisen, dates from the 16th century. 315 Western classical music, introduced in the late 19th century, forms an integral part of Japanese culture. 316 Kumi-deko, ensemble drumming, was developed in post-war Japan and became very popular in North America. 317 Popular music in post-war Japan has been heavily influenced by American and European trends, which has led to the evolution of J-pop. 318. Karaoke is a significant cultural activity. 319. The four traditional theaters from Japan are No, Kaigen, Kabuki, and Bunraku. 320. No is one of the oldest continuous theater traditions in the world. 321. Media main articles, Cinema of Japan, Video games in Japan, Manga, Anime, and Media of Japan. Japanese media franchise Pokémon is the highest-grossing media franchise of all time. According to the 2015 NHK survey on television viewing in Japan, 79% of Japanese watch television daily. 322 Japanese television dramas are viewed both within Japan and internationally. 323. Many Japanese media franchises have gained considerable global popularity and are among the world's highest-grossing media franchises. Japanese newspapers are among the most circulated in the world as of 2016. 324. Japan is one of the oldest and largest film industries globally. 325. Ishiro Honda's Godzilla became an international icon of Japan and spawned an entire subgenre of kaiju films, as well as the longest-running film franchise in history. 326. 327 Japanese comics, known as manga, developed in the mid-20th century and have become popular worldwide. 328. 329. A large number of manga series have become some of the best-selling comic series of all time, rivaling the American comics industry. 330 Japanese animated films and television series, known as anime, were largely influenced by Japanese manga and have become highly popular globally. 331. 332. Holidays main articles, public holidays in Japan and Japanese festivals young women celebrate. Coming of Age Day, Seijin no Hai in Harajuku, Tokyo. Officially, Japan has 16 national, government-recognized holidays. Public holidays in Japan are regulated by the Public Holiday Law, Kakumen no Shukajitsu ni Kanshuru of 1948. 333. Beginning in 2000, Japan implemented the Happy Monday system, which moved a number of national holidays to Monday in order to obtain a long weekend. 330 for the national holidays in Japan are New Year's Day on January 1st, Coming of Age Day on the second Monday of January, National Foundation Day on February 11th, the Emperor's Birthday on February 23rd, Vernal Equinox Day on March 20th or 21st, Showa Day on April 29th, Constitution Memorial Day on May 3rd, Greenery Day on May 4th, Children's Day on May 5th, Marine Day on the third Monday of July, Mountain Day on August 11th, Respect for the Age Day on the third Monday of September, Autumnal Equinox on September 23rd or 24th, Health and Sports Day on the second Monday of October, Culture Day on November 3rd, and Labor Thanksgiving Day on November 23rd. 3. Cuisine main article. Japanese cuisine. A plate of nigiri sushi. Japanese cuisine offers a vast array of regional specialties that use traditional recipes and local ingredients. 336 Seafood and Japanese rice or noodles are traditional staples. 337 Japanese curry, since its introduction to Japan from British India, is so widely consumed that it can be termed a national dish, alongside ramen and sushi. 338 339 Traditional Japanese sweets are known as wagashi. 340 ingredients, such as red bean paste and mochi, are used. More modern-day tastes include green tea ice cream. 341 Popular Japanese beverages include sake, a brewed rice beverage that typically contains 14 to 17% alcohol and is made by multiple fermentation of ice. 342. Beer has been brewed in Japan since the late 17th century. 343 Green tea is produced in Japan and prepared in forms, such as matcha, used in the Japanese tea ceremony. 340 for Sports main article. Sport in Japan. Sumo wrestlers form around the referee during the ring entering ceremony. Traditionally, sumo is considered Japan's national sport. 345 Japanese martial arts, such as judo and kendo, are taught as part of the compulsory junior high school curriculum. 346 Karate, which originated in the Ryukyu Kingdom, is popular across the world and has been included in the Olympic Games. 347, 348, 349. Baseball is the most popular sport in the country. 350 Japan's top professional league, Nippon Professional Baseball (NPB), was established in 1936. 351. Since the establishment of the Japan Professional Football League (JFL) League in 1992, association football gained a wide following. 352. The country co-hosted the 2000 FIFA World Cup with South Korea. 353. Japan is one of the most successful football teams in Asia, winning the Asian Cup 4 times, 354, and the FIFA Women's World Cup in 2011. 355 Golf is also popular in Japan. 356 In motorsport, Japanese automotive manufacturers have been successful in multiple different categories, with titles and victories in series such as Formula One, Moto, and the World Rally Championship. 357 358 359. Drivers from Japan have victories at the Indianapolis 500 and the 24 Hours of Le Mans, as well as podium finishes in Formula One, in addition to success in domestic championships. 360 361. Super GT is the most popular national racing series in Japan, while Super Formula is the top-level domestic open-wheel series. 3. The country hosts major races, such as the Japanese Grand Prix. 363 Japan hosted the Summer Olympics in Tokyo in 1964 and the Winter Olympics in Sapporo in 1972 and Nagano in 1998. 364. The country hosted the official 2006 Basketball World Championship. 365 and co-hosted the 2023 Basketball World Championship. 366. Tokyo hosted the 2020 Summer Olympics in 2021, making Tokyo the first Asian city to host the Olympics twice. 367. The country gained the hosting rights for the official Women's Volleyball World Championship on 5 occasions, more than any other country. 368. Japan is the most successful Asian rugby union country. 369, and hosted the 2019 IRB Rugby World Cup. 370.